big agenda opposed to having a big agenda. So we're now moving into the results section of our paper. So for the results, everything is going to be double presented. We're going to present everything in our figures and tables. Last time we talked about the flow chart figure, which will be figure 1 for our paper. And so today we will talk about the written component, the first paragraph of our results, which is basically just going to be that flow chart in written form. So the easiest way, let me share my screen. The easiest way to do this, in my opinion, is to just look at some of the examples. So I just randomly picked this one. Move this out of the way. So here's the flow chart for this systematic review. So you can see about 99 articles were identified. There were 29 that were duplicates. Author excluded 41 of the 70 based on title, eliminated another 14 from the abstract, leaving 15 for full text. Of those full text, 4 were excluded, leaving 11 for their review. So here's the writing for that. Study characteristics for all articles included in the qualitative synthesis can be seen in table 1, right? You need to have some sort, this should be figure 1, but I guess maybe they renamed it to, yeah, it should have been figure 1. Oh no. Oh, they made us move it to methods. I forgot about that. Never mind. They made this author's guide wanted it in the methods. It should be in the results. But okay, summary of study selections provided in figure 1. A total of 99 records were obtained from the search, and 70 articles remained after duplicates were removed. The remaining 70 records were then screened for title, and 41 articles were removed because they did not meet the inclusion criteria. The 29 records were then screened by their abstract, and 14 were removed because they did not meet the inclusion criteria. The final 15 remaining articles were then screened by their full text, with 4 being removed for not meeting the exclusion criteria. Articles were excluded for various reasons. All right, so that's pretty much, you can see that's just saying it there. The only new information that's in this first section of the results is the reasons. So for every article that you read full text or you were unable to identify specifically why it was, or specifically that it should have been excluded beforehand, I told you to print off, right, those full text, and if you were going to exclude it, right at the top. So combine those based on reasons. So in this case, articles were the lack of functional testing, comparison of other interventions to electrical stimulation rather than a control or passive recovery, or non-athletic subject. So there's the 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. And then a total of 11 articles for including the qualitative. That is the first paragraph of your results. All it does is it explains your figure 1. Obviously, this is a lot easier to write than to do. And that's where we're really at now. The writing portion of this is going to be easier than doing. And so we will be spending more time just kind of doing these, shorter days with work sessions. Questions on the first paragraph of the results section of your paper? Yes.
We only give a reason and cite the reason for the last reason.
Correct. So you have to give the exact reason for every article that was excluded for full text. You may, if you want, this author got a little repetitive with this and just kept saying that they did not meet the inclusion or exclusion criteria. Right? You can go that route, or you could be a little bit more specific and describe some general reasons that articles were excluded at that point in time. So like if you were going through title and you saw there were a whole bunch of titles about, I don't know, mice, right? You could say, this number was eliminated based on title with, a lot of articles referencing non-human populations. Something like that, if you wanted to. The reason is because they don't match the inclusion or they don't match the inclusion criteria, or they match the exclusion criteria. But that doesn't really help our readers much. If we give them a little bit more information, that's helpful, but not necessary. Other questions about this first paragraph? Correct. We're only discussing reasons or only discussing the articles specifically that were excluded. Included articles will be the second paragraph. And I will introduce that just briefly so you know where we are going, but we will discuss that more in depth on Wednesday. Any questions about that or the flow chart on how to do the flow chart? I believe the flow chart is due Wednesday. Due Wednesday. So questions on what to do for the flow chart? Let's do Wednesday. Yes.
With the additional records identified as other sources.
Yes. Yes. So every time you go through and you will read those like full text articles, go through and look at their references and see if there are any additional references that should be considered. Those would then go up into the section of additional references from other sources. No. So it would only, the idea is we need to ensure that we have every research article that would meet our inclusion criteria. So it would make sense that articles that may not specifically meet our inclusion criteria might have cited articles that could have. And in fact, when you go through and do that, you will see that some of these articles will be citing each other. That's good. The more we have, a complete circle of articles citing each other, the more confident we can be that we have every article we need. But if there are no additional articles in the references, then there's nothing more you need to do. Other questions on the flow chart or this first paragraph? Only the flow chart is due Wednesday. So you can just upload that directly as a Word document. You can include it in your running Word document if you would like. You can turn it into a JPEG as a screenshot if you create it in some other format besides Word, because it's just, if it's a figure, it doesn't need to be able to be changed. Now, if you do create it in some other thing, you create it in a PowerPoint or a publisher or something, save that file, obviously, in case there is a need for it to be changed down the road because we need to change something. But in your paper, it can just be a JPEG or PNG or whatever image file that you want. Very good. The last thing then I would like to do today is just introduce, for anybody that is running ahead of schedule, or if you just want to go through. So on Wednesday, I'm going to introduce the results table. This is basically an annotated bibliography in table format. In the methods, we said we were going to extract certain data. We extract it in the results table. So each article in your methods described exactly what you are going to pull out. It's fairly similar for most of us. We used similar components. And you would just make a table and you would outline from each article what their research was about. This results table is similar to the annotated bibliography assignment, and as such takes a significant amount of time. I give you some time for that. I think, in fact, Friday is a work day for that, just for that, no additional peer reviews or anything for that. And I think we even spend most of next week on the results table and finishing up the results. But if that annotated bibliography component of the synthesis assignment took you a substantial amount of time, or you know that next week is going to be much more full than this week as far as your outside requirements, you got 7 tests next week, and this week you got a whole lot of nothing. You can go ahead and get started on this, and that will also make it easier for you to ask any questions on Wednesday. We can talk specifically about your results table if you would like. So that's where we're going next. Any initial high-level questions on the results table that I could answer for anybody that, is interested in getting ahead? All right, that being the case, as always, the rest of the time now is yours for individual questions that may have come up with your paper. You can obviously work with classmates as well, but I am here if you need if you would like to talk with me specifically about your paper or where you are at. Otherwise, you can sit here and write, you can go. The rest of the time is yours to be adults and manage as you see fit. Wednesday, the flow chart is due. Thank you much.